All right, I have been excited. I've been excited for this like forever.
Yeah, we're
To
very excited for
to
this.
finally
Aw.
do the because I was talking to Daisy like logistically, is
Yeah,
there a way we can do a 4-way interview for once? Um,
we figured it out, I think.
yeah, and I think we've got it, and I think it's time. Daisy, do you want to, since you're on like the interview this week, do you want to do the opening spiel?
Oh my gosh, I would be honored to congratulate and celebrate our very wonderful and fabulous, smart interview sleuths who come up with the questions behind the scenes. Many of Folkwise Live that work towards the interview, even though you just usually see Dom and or me. But they are wonderful, and what does Dom always say? They are intrepid
Yes, intrepid is my
and
word.
fantastic. And so if you hear a question that you like or that made you laugh, or if any time Katrina and Geoff may or may not go, ooh, that's a good question, you can thank the sleuths because
That's
they're the
right.
ones who curated this list for us today. Are we ready to get
I'm
into
terrified.
it? Do not be
It's gonna
terrified. They
be
are fun.
fun.
They're
It's
fun.
gonna be
They're fun.
fun. It's gonna
Do
be
not be
fun.
terrified. Don't worry. Don't worry. We got you. This will be silly.
Okay. And
Yeah.
as like the sort of geez, I don't think the 4 of us are gonna make it through this night without knowing like which like Sex in the City girl we each are. but that being said, I've got the Katrina questions and Daisy has the Geoff questions. Are you ready?
Ready.
Cool.
Yes.
Let's do
Sweet.
this. Okay. So first question is for Katrina, and we talked a little bit about we talked a little bit about this at the top of the episode, and you talked about the Disney's the Disney's The Little Mermaid hullabaloo.
Yeah.
But what stories in particular sparked your deep dive into folk narratives?
I mean, like mostly it was as I was reading through like Brothers Grimm's stories, there was a lot of stuff in them that like didn't make sense to me. Like even if we go back to like Mother Holly, where like in the story that this happens, this girl goes down like a well very quickly. She goes down a well, and then when she gets to this like house that's at the bottom of a well, um, she sees this really scary looking woman, and this scary looking woman was like, "Oh, it's okay. I'm Mother Holly." And the girl was like, "Oh, okay." And like went into the house, and I was like, why would you do that? And like the stuff in the stories that did not make sense to me made me really curious because I was like, there's something I'm not understanding. Like if these stories were important enough to be passed around and then written down, they had to have made sense, right? And so I was like, I'm not getting it. Like I'm not understanding like what's going on. And so I wanted to like, yeah, just dive deeper into like those weird things. Also, the graphic violence of a lot of fairy tales intrigues me.
Oh yeah. So
Nice.
so it sounds to me like what you're saying is there was like you were kind of like you wanted to get every reference. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, like absolutely. That I was like, no, I don't understand this. I need to understand this. I want to laugh at every joke. I want every joke to make sense to me. I want every reference to like click in my mind. And that's usually like when I'm doing an episode, that's what I'm thinking about is like what parts of like a story will people not quite understand and will leave them asking that question, and then I just want to answer that for them.
Hmm.
And that's why she has me on the podcast, because like I am an idiot and just assume that I'm just not getting something. So I'm like, what do I not understand about this? Why does this not make sense? And it's about a 50-50 split on no, you're just an idiot and didn't listen right, or it's this really fascinating topic. It's one of our guiding like principles of the podcast is like if there's something that doesn't make sense in a story, look it up, because 100% of the time we find out something really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Like usually it's about
Yeah.
animal
Like-
husbandry, the different gendered names for animals, but depending on if they're like adults or babies and all that. That's one of the big like side tangents we always get off
Yeah.
on, but with the double meaning of
One
get
of-
off. But
One of the ones one of the what one of the ones that disappointed me the most that we did not look into enough, like ahead of time, was when we did an episode that was on, I'm going to say Asian Cinderella stories, even though like
yeah.
that is totally a misnomer because
Yeah.
they're not Cinderella stories. But for our audience, like that's what we label them because most people are coming in with like not a whole lot of knowledge.
Mhm.
But when we were doing a story about that, there's one of the oldest Cinderella stories is from China.
Yeah.
And in the story, she gets this dress made out of kingfisher feathers. So this, little jeweled tone bird. So she gets this dress of like kingfisher feathers, and we were like, in the episode, I said, okay, like that has to be important. That must be like one of like the most fine, like expensive items. But I hadn't looked it up, so I didn't like really know. And then it was after we had posted the episode that we looked up and found out, yeah, kingfisher feathers were this like this whole thing in China, like back when that story was being told and for a very, very long time. And that's one of those things where it's like, if it makes us wonder, like, why is that made out of kingfisher feathers? Like, we want to like Google and figure out, like, what are we not understanding? What would this look like? What would this be? Why is it important?
The more specific the reference, the more likely it is that there's some kind of meaning behind it.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that drive like towards completion. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah. I'm glad that I could tell you a time when I disappointed myself. Instead of, I probably remembered it so well because it was like such a thing where I was like, oh, we looked it up after the episode was recorded.
Oh, sure.
Why didn't we do that before? But yeah, it is like a lot of the times with our episodes. I mean, the last episode that we did that was on Sinbad the Sailor.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
I know.
The translation for this one word came out 2 words, sea horse.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But there were a lot of pictures of that story that I was finding, like that were in kids' books, and it was giant seahorses. But that's not what it was. They were
Why big? Why big? They're supposed to be small.
Well, they had to be big in the story because they were
Mating
hooking up with
full-size
mares.
horses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
But
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
But
Which brings up some problems of its own, because if we know anything about seahorses, it's that they've got kind of a very unique
I was gonna
reproductive
say,
kind of a thing. It's like,
yeah.
how does it work? Like,
It's
you
okay.
can't- the horse-
what are you supposed to do when you hear a fairy tale? Suspend your disbelief. It's fine.
indeed,
It's fine.
indeed.
I'm just
It's
imagining
fine.
like normal, what we would picture of horses, like getting spewed out from a seahorse's like belly
Oh
button.
my God! Do not put this image in my brain, Jeff. Like just spewing horses. I need to draw this. Okay, we'll come back.
No,
to this.
While
Oh,
Daisy's
man.
drawing this, Katrina, explain what a seahorse actually was.
Okay, so like it was a horse, a mystical horse that lives like in the sea, not a it was 2 words, sea horse. And like basically it was this story about like where the like excellent horses in the Middle East come from.
Yeah.
There are like other like stories about like why Arabian horses are better than like all the other horses in the world, which if you have looked at a picture of an Arabian horse, it is like, whoa, those are gorgeous. And so
They're
yeah,
pointy.
they're pointy, yeah.
Don't you think they're pointy? I'm sorry. Continue.
Like yeah, it's like they're like really like sleek and swift and like yeah, they have a distinctive look. And so yeah, it was like one of those things where it's like as I was reading the story and it just says sea horses, I was like, that can't mean what I think it means. Like the story is from 800 AD. They didn't know what seahorses, like the little, like they didn't have that word for them, at least. They maybe have seen them, I don't know. But that made me curious as to like, wait, what are they talking about when they see seahorses? And it was just like another example of like, I need to look this up and make sure I'm clearly what's going on.
Yeah, I guess my only follow-up to that is I live out by Assateague Island, so I just assumed it was a feral beach pony. And not far off. Daisy, you got a question?
I do, and
Beach
like
ponies.
We
My
touched.
feral beach pony.
Oh my god!
Assateague Island National Seashore, everyone. It's the best.
I already have so many drawings to complete now by the end of this. Oh my god!
Oh,
Can you?
the
What a
drawings.
horrific image. Okay. Anyway, I have to Jeff this question because we, as we've written here, we don't want to let Katrina be the only one walking on sunshine. How did Katrina, Jeff, make you catch the folklore wave?
I did not write that question. That was one of the kids. Really wanted to work that joke in, apparently.
That is
Katrina
a good
and the
question.
waves. I got it.
Okay,
I got
good,
Katrina and the waves. I got it.
Chat,
Take
I hope you laughed, chat.
As usual, I needed it explained to me, but now I get it as well. Yes. But no, again, Sleuth's great question.
Walking on sunshine.
On the
I'm so
feral
sorry.
beach. Okay, we have to get through this. Fun.
No, honestly, keep going down. I'm enjoying this tangent that we're going on. This is one of the reasons I was nervous of having Katrina and I on like a live show. Is I edit the podcast, so I know how easily we go off on these crazy tangents. Like for our patrons on Patreon, we have a bloopers and outtakes thing, and some of those are like 30, 40 minutes long of just like random tangents we went on, times that we misspoke, and I was like, "There's no editing this; it's all going to make it in."
Hell yeah!
Speaking of, I'm going to drop your Patreon on the.
Oh, thank you.
And
thank you.
That's a good mod.
Yeah. So to get back to the question that was totally, outshone by the pun incorporated with it. I think I'm kind of a person that I'm naturally pretty curious. Like I enjoy learning new things. And I just enjoy talking to Katrina. So like those two things together was like, oh, you want to get together and talk about like things that I don't know about? Like, yeah, sure. I'll be glad to do that. And I think too, like my, kind of like ambition in life growing up, like when Katrina and I met, is to be like, I was very involved in like theater and film. Like, so I was, like my degree is in theater because I couldn't get into the film program at my school. But so, like storytelling was something that I was very into. So it wasn't a big leap to go from storytelling, like in a film sense or on stage in a play to being like, oh, like folktales and other stories being told. It's something that kind of is aligned with my interests anyway. And especially like having not gotten into the film program, and I kind of emphasized my emphasis in my major was like critical studies. So I had to read like ancient Greek plays and, stuff from long ago that I never would have been exposed to. I mean, like cinema is only 150 years old at the most. So it's like everything's really recent, but kind of getting exposed to like that kind of storytelling was really interesting because it's so, again, different. And you learn a lot, like just attached to it as well. Like we talked about already, where something doesn't make sense about like, or they mention some type of like creature or whatever. You're like, well, what is this creature? And you go in and you look into that. So like, I feel like more than anything, there's just a lot of different things to learn besides just the stories themselves. Cause you're learning about like the history. You have to know a little about the place. And kind of the more you know about the surrounding stuff, the richer the story becomes to you. So, yeah, I mean, it just, I guess the short answer, it wasn't really a far cry from the type of thing I was interested in anyway. And Katrina makes it interesting just by explaining it in a fun way. So, but yeah, I mean, I definitely have got the bug. Again, I still am not necessarily going out and researching on my own. We once in a while will have what I've called the Jeff episode because I'm vain, where I actually lead the discussion and I do the research, but it's like, I think there've been like 2 of those, 3 out of 60. So
that's like when I do the streaming every once in a while and it's like cool, but it's funnier when Dom does the interview.
Oh, thanks, Daisy.
Self burn in the chat. What up? I get it.
Burn, those are rare.
Not if you're me.
So Katrina, I got a question for you.
Yes.
So if I understand correctly, you started off writing and like summarizing fairy tales before you started like podcasting and performing them. What made you want to transition into like a different process of storytelling?
I mean, mostly I think it was like, you mean like transitioning from like having them written into like podcasting?
Exactly.
I mean, I had done the like blog post writing down the stories like years ago. It was like almost 7 years ago I started doing that, and I only really did it for like 2 years, and then I was like, this is really time consuming. Like, I'm a mom, what am I doing with myself? Just like writing these like weird like stories for like my own like twisted pleasure. And so like I wasn't super focusing on that like anymore. And so yeah, it was like when the like friend was like, "Can you write up one of your like summary things about the Little Mermaid and then also tell me about your opinions about this?" That I was like, "Oh yeah, I did used to write those things. Sure, let me write up." And so I did a couple, like I think like 2 years ago I did like a couple more of like the blog posts, and it was like basically Jeff and like other friends who were like encouraging me to like do it as a podcast instead. So yeah, that's mostly like the answer is like I switched genres just because like the opportunity presented itself.
Apart from like having that opportunity, is there anything like retroactively that you prefer about having like doing this in a podcast?
Yeah, I mean, with the writing, it was mostly just the stories. And like it was stories and it was humor and like it was funny. But the stuff that really like interested me a lot was the um I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
Like all the stuff around it. Like she would find herself
Yes,
writing the
yeah.
stories, and she would come and have to like, because the format she'd created,
Yeah.
there was no
Yeah.
place to go on and explain like the things that she thought was interesting, go back and say like the connections to other stories or the tale types or whatever. And so she would,
Exactly.
you know, use her friends as an outlet for like spewing all that information. And we're like, hey, let's redirect this energy towards something a little more,
Yeah.
you know, focused and
Yeah.
productive for everyone.
Because it was like the people who were like interested in reading like the humorous, you know, like summaries, retellings like of the stories. I was like, I don't know how interested they are in hearing me be like, all right, now here are my opinions about like racism and folklore. Like people, like I was like, oh, they don't want that, but
Yeah,
maybe they would like,
They don't want
know?
it, but they need it. Bring the heat,
Oh.
Katrina.
Bring the
Yeah.
heat.
like snapping, and I was like,
Bring
how's
the
my mic
heat.
off?
It was an interesting
Yeah.
opportunity too, for you know, like building an audience that did come for that. Like if that's the thing
Yeah.
you're starting out with,
Yeah.
and the people are following you, then it's like because they are interested in that. Like it's kind of always hard to switch your format. If she did want to start writing these like essays,
Yeah.
again, like it could potentially alienate a lot of the audience. And plus, it's like I think I mentioned this earlier. Just kind of like to me, something that tickles me is the like oral storytelling aspect of it. It's kind of like in a weird way
Yeah.
going back to like the folklore roots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that
what
it
I
is like,
It's true, yeah.
yeah, that I mean, because like what I really enjoyed when I was writing like the summaries was adding in like memes
Mm-hmm.
in there as like, oh, like this is a humor that's like really relevant right now, that like people that takes the story from like, you know, Grimm's Brothers, like what it was, and being like, okay, but Grimm's Brothers add memes and be a little more self-aware about like characters who are being sexist or characters who are gaslighting like other people and call them on it like as a narrator. And like so that was like fun, but also it's like I can also do that on a podcast. So yeah.
And a podcast I feel like is a good match for Katrina because she likes to talk. That's no surprise. We've talked about a bunch already in this this stream, but she's also a really good storyteller. Like just as her friend, like she's got stories of her life that she can tell and will tell, has told many of on the podcast. It's like she just has a really great way of like grabbing your attention and getting you engaged as a listener. So it's like, you know, letting her, and a lot of it has to do with her like tone of voice. And I think, you know, even her mannerism, something that people miss out on our podcast, which is like, I enjoy it because we do it when we're talking to each other, we do a video chat, just getting to see like the hand gestures and everything that she does, like really brings a lot to the storytelling. So she's a great storyteller. It's like, it's a great match. Like I joke that we were all annoyed with her, you know, constantly talking to us about it, but it was like, you know, we also recognized her ability as a storyteller and was like, she could do a really good job just telling these rather than writing it down.
Man, this
Hell
is like
yeah.
the opposite of a roast right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so nice, Jeff.
Yeah, why would we roast you on our show? What do you think we were like? What do you think we're gonna invite you on here? We love your podcast.
We've talked about doing a roast
For
on our
sure.
show, so like
We have
stay
talked about doing a
posted.
roast. If you want to stay tuned
If you
for
want to roast
freaking
me
roast.
one time,
It's her imposter syndrome at work. She was like
Yes.
paranoid that we were gonna get on here, and it was like, oh my gosh, these people
Yeah.
like that are like folklorists and they have like PhDs. They're gonna know like that I'm a
That I'm a fake,
fraud.
that
They're
I'm a
gonna come on
fraud.
here and it's gonna be just like a
No.
gotcha moment. They're gonna
I would
call
like
me
to-
out. It's like, no, of course not.
I would like to point out I have a PhD.
That's not our
Daisy
show.
has
Yeah.
Daisy has a master's, but they got their master's
Indeed.
taken away for calling Big Chungus a cat.
Yeah, I no longer have it.
Yeah, Big Chungus is in fact Bugs Bunny for everyone following along at home. Daisy forgot that.
Oh, Daisy.
Daisy, you got the next one?
I do. I was gonna say, Jeff, I have a somewhat complicated question.
My favorite kind.
It's complicatedly written, but I think you will enjoy it. So,
Okay.
which character from another genre of story were you most surprised when they showed up in a story that you read on the on the podcast?
So the question, if I'm understanding correctly, what like type of like a character type from like another genre, like not fairy tale folklore, that I saw show up in like a fairy tale and folklore story
Yeah.
Yeah.
that I was like delighted
Like
by.
a guest
you were
star
like,
you were
"Oh."
delighted by, yeah.
You were like, hey, I know that, but not from here.
Yeah, let's see. That's a
About to
Man.
say the devil.
that no.
Who knew
that's a
the
good
devil
point.
was in a fairy tale? Yeah.
That's a good point. Like I have been delighted by the way that the devil shows up in folklore, and just learning why it is. Like,
The devil.
yeah, it's like I don't know. Like we did an episode of like Tall Tales, which is that he's a lot more like what we would expect. We did one like one of our Fifth Friday Fable Fest wasn't a Fifth Friday Fable Fest. We did like a character alignment kind of episode where we did like the D&D character alignment for like different
Oh my
characters
God,
where we like
yes.
pulled them out of a hat. But it's like, you know, we got to like the devil and it's like he's like lawful evil. Like he has a code, he has these rules, but he's always trying to use those rules to like screw you over, to
Yeah.
like take your soul.
Yeah. And it was funny because it's like fairies are like chaotic evil. And you would think like, you know, the devil would be
I think
like, you know, more on the like chaotic side, but it's like, no, he's very much like contracts and like making sure like contracts get fulfilled and you know, if there's some bylaws or loopholes, he honors that.
yeah.
As
Like in
opposed to
one
like fairies that were like, you were sitting on my hill, so I'm taking all of your children.
Right, yeah. I think we landed on fairies being chaotic neutral because it's like they decide
Oh,
just
that's
randomly
true.
whether they like you or not, and
Yeah.
they'll like maybe like bless you like with some like magical spell that makes you have good luck the rest of your life, or like they'll turn you into a pumpkin or something. But yeah, like we told a tall tale like where the devil like was trying to get this guy's soul, but he had like written on it with like invisible ink, and the devil had signed it. So it's like, oh well, it's right here in the ink. So I guess you know you beat me this time, kind of a thing. It's
Gotcha.
like he's very rule abiding, but for using it for ill.
I mean, in Job, he's like the prosecuting attorney, right? So it makes sense he follows rules. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, the story of Job is so interesting just because it is that there's this like back and forth between like God and the devil, just like hanging out.
Jill,
They're work
There's a-
friends.
there's a chat thread popping off about the devil playing instruments and why it's great. First of all, what instrument does the devil play?
Yeah, wrong answers
The-
only.
Wrong answers only. And then does the devil play the flute or the fiddle better? Do you have an opinion?
I mean,
like
he
immediate.
gets a lot of credit for his fiddle playing, but he is, you know, I'd say he lost to this random kid
Yeah.
playing the fiddle.
That's
But-
true.
But he is an exceptional flautist. So if you've never heard him play, I definitely recommend. I think he has a live album that you can stream on Spotify. You should check.
Probably, yeah.
I think my favorite answer from the chat is Vuvuzela. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no, I was
coming
gonna
up over and over
say
again. I think-
the wrong answer probably the
Just
devil plays the Vuvuzela.
Well, if there's any instrument inspired by the devil, it might be that one.
Oh my god,
Or
Shadow
like It's like, or a third grader playing the recorder. Like that's
oh my god.
You take-
yeah,
yeah,
never
you just-
it's an evil
involved
sound.
He can only play Hot Cross Buns atonally.
Oh my god. Shadow Tiger
But
Lily is edgy. Plays the strings of my own heart.
Immediately,
So edgy.
immediately, my brain thought of like the song with like Jack Black, the tribute. Have you guys seen that music video?
Yeah.
The devil doesn't play an instrument in that, but Jack Black does. And I had to bring up Jack Black.
I like it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is so good.
If anybody wants to like look up tribute like in your spare time on YouTube, it's a delight.
Isn't Dave Grohl the devil in that video?
I think so.
Yeah,
I-
he is.
so.
And like and also there's a little old lady, spoiler alert for this music
For
video.
this 15-year-old
This
music
little old
video.
lady. Yeah. This little old lady in the video, she's like also the devil. And that actress was on Superstore and she recently passed away.
Oh.
I can't remember what her name is, and that's my bad. But she is a delight, and I want to be that kind of old lady when I grow up. It's just like that like just looks like a sweet little old lady, but then is like swearing at everybody and like flipping them off, and that's my dream. That's what I want to be when I grow up.
Next up we have some questions for both of you to answer. Dom, do you want to go?
Yeah. So both of you can answer this question. Where do you see the Fairy Tellers podcast's like niche among the other storytelling podcasts?
I think like my first thought is like research, and then also I was gonna say like not drinking. Like it's just funny because there are a lot
There's
of
a
like
lot of
fairy
drinking podcasts,
tale
yeah.
Yeah.
where it's like I'm not gonna name any because I just now was thinking of like a list. I was like, that's rude.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong like with that aspect, but it was funny because like people have joked to us that we're not like an alcohol themed podcast, which I'm like, that's a really interesting thing to observe. But I think more than anything else that like our style isn't to like retell a tale as if we're like we don't have soundscapes like behind like our storytelling, which again, if you're into soundscapes behind your storytelling, that's wonderful. I'm not dissing that. Ours is just like a colloquial like conversation of like, listen to this goofy story, and then the focus on like just those little like the little details or like the wider history behind like stuff. That I think that would be my answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. My again, I'm not super familiar with like other storytelling or especially fairy tale or folklore podcasts.
Shame on you. I'm just joking. They're my like obsessions.
Yeah, because again, it's like I like hearing about this stuff, but I like hearing about it from Katrina, which goes into my answer too. I feel like we're like a hangout podcast. Like if you are the type of person that is watching this stream and you're like, oh, I think I would like to hang out with these people, and you're interested in fairy tales and folklore, like come and listen to our podcast, because that's what it is. Like that's a very specific niche, like our friends who like fairy tales and folklore, which among our actual living breathing friends is a very, very small list. Well, I guess
like
the
that you
people that listen to
specified-
our podcast are living and breathing.
I was like, how many dead people listen to
And how many people who live but don't breathe?
It's a lot of ghosts listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
the undead really appreciate our podcast.
Zombies love Sinbad, actually.
Yeah, they think he's delicious.
Yeah, so it's like, people that like us that also like fairy tales and folklore.
Yeah. Well,
I was like, if you hate us, you're not going to enjoy our podcast.
Probably.
There's a lot of us in our podcast. Too
Are the
bad.
memes? I know Daisy really wants to ask you this question. Are the memes you post on social media an extension of the retellings on the show? And then I guess parentheses because they're fire.
Oh,
They're fire.
Oh,
There it
That's
is.
so
There they are.
sweet.
There they are.
so like I've noticed it's really interesting because like the memes were something that I definitely was doing to kind of like pull people in to be like, if you enjoy laughing and fairy tales, like you should like you might like us. And so I was having to do memes that were just on stories that people like know, which I feel like is kind of sad because like there's a lot of like funny options available for stories that people are like less familiar with, but those I was trying to keep as like accessible as possible to like cast a wide net and then get a little more like niche. I think I'm more niche like with the like on the stories, the Instagram stories, because I can just like be like, oh, if you were listening to this episode, here's some jokes that you'll get and like you'll appreciate.
Yeah.
So
which I think is like an accidentally brilliant strategy because
accidentally brilliant.
like everything Katrina does, accidentally brilliant.
Aww.
Just kidding. But like in the sense, like I feel it's happened before. Like I've noticed among our Instagram following, there's a lot of people who like to be in the know. Like we'll get a lot of discussion about the memes, about how like why it makes sense and why it's funny because of the fact that the person is familiar with the fairy tale or the story or whatever. And so like if you're going through the stories and you see something that you don't know and you're like, wow, this seems like it's a funny meme, but I don't understand it because I haven't listened to that story before. So it's like, hopefully that gets them to come in and watch the episode or listen to the episode. I mean, is that what's happening? I don't know, but it does seem like we get a lot of, listeners to the podcast from that have come from finding the Instagram account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Us included. While we go into the funsy questions, Daisy, because your mic cut out for that last one. Do you want to ask Geoff his first funsy question?
I sure do, and I'm also dropping some sick links in the chat.
There are some sick links.
Check out those links. There's some sick links in there too.
Everybody's information.
Everybody's info. It's very good. All right, Geoff. I think it is obvious to everybody who has been watching. Even if they've been watching for 3 seconds, they notice that you have the best camera. We want to know what the most underrated camera of all.
The most underrated camera of all time?
Yeah.
Yeah, in your opinion.
Oh man. Put me on the spot.
He has so many.
There's like 12,000. Yeah, I'm also kind of into like recently gotten into like vintage like film cameras. Like my grandfather's a big film camera collector. And I love shooting with like all these different cameras, but like this is really a cop-out question almost, but it's like the camera that you have, which is most often going to be the camera on your phone, I feel like it's like the most underrated camera just because like I found myself like I've got you can't really see it because it's all like blurred out, but like up here it's like this big like twin lens reflex camera like that's like medium format, so it shoots onto a negative that's like that big. And it takes amazing pictures, but it's like it's such a pain to carry that thing around. Like some of the best pictures I've ever taken, some of my favorite pictures I've ever taken are on this tiny little like a high-end point and shoot film camera. And the reason why is because it's the one that I can carry with me the most often when there's something interesting happening in front of me that I can take a picture of. And I think everyone has the opportunity to be like a really great photographer if they just like would see something interesting, look around and take their phone out and take a picture of it and practice looking for the interesting things in the world around you and then just snapping a picture of it with your phone. So the one you have is the most underrated camera, which is probably your cell phone.
I really like that answer.
It's also a very encouraging answer.
Yeah.
It's a very folklore answer.
Yeah.
Because it encourages like you too can be a photographer.
Yeah, it encourages everyday art. That's what folklorists are about.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
Katrina, I got a question for you.
Yes.
If the 1001 Nights is the Marvel Cinematic Universe of folk literature,
Oh my gosh.
what 4 movies would make up phase 1 of the Arabian Nights Cinematic Universe?
I mean, like obviously, like phase 1 has got to include like the start of like the frame narrative,
Yes.
right? Like it
Yeah.
has to start with
Scheherazade is like the
Shahrazad.
Nick Fury
Yeah,
of
Scheherazade
the
is Nick
Shahryar.
universe.
Fury.
She's the one
Yeah.
that brings them all together.
Oh man. And like, because I'm like, there has to be a movie that is just like Harun al-Rashid.
Mhm.
Oh man. Like okay, like the total nerd of me is like, forget all of this like stories about him inside of the 1001 Nights, him as a historical figure.
Oh, sure.
I want that story like firmly in there, just because like that story has got like a cast. I'm like, Abbasid dynasty, like absolutely, like that is quite a cast of like characters, including like women, like all this like intrigue inside of like the harems and like, you know, pulling strings. So I'm like, that's weird because it's not in the 1001 Nights. He is, and stories about him,
Yeah.
like made up stories. But like, I'm like, oh, there has to be a story. Like there would have to be like a movie that's just like that's about the historical figure.
And that would occupy the space kind of like, you know, Captain America, the First Avenger, where you have to tie it into these actual historical, you know, events. So he's obviously the, you know, the Steve Rogers.
Yeah. And then
Captain
I would
America.
say Sinbad,
Yeah.
because like that one, the way that we situated it in our podcast was they went right after the other, like Harun al-Rashid, because we had to talk about who he was to have it make sense why Sinbad took place in that time like period there.
Uh-huh.
And especially we ended our retelling on the sixth story where Sinbad goes in front of Harun al-Rashid and tells him the story of his voyages and gets it like written down. So like that would be awesome in a cinematic way to like have those like back to back, like with each other. And then like King Solomon, like
Ooh.
King Solomon, like inside the 1001 Nights, and then King Solomon, like also outside the 1001 Nights, both like historical and like the legendary stuff, because like there is I think it's called the Testament of Solomon, and that has this like vampire demon, and Solomon has to like go like find out like basically like how to like capture and destroy these like vampire demons, how to catch all of the like jinn that are out there, and like that establishes how all those jinns get shoved into bottles.
Yeah.
So like all of that would have to go into like the phase 1. So yeah, I'm like that's my selection.
So Sinbad's obviously the Tony Stark Iron Man, this rich guy that goes on the adventures.
Yes.
But I can't figure out who Solomon is, like the analog for him. And we don't have to.
I was laughing because
He's something.
I was cracking up because Aliana said King Solomon, Demon Hunter.
I was cracking up because Little Frog Car said shitpost take King Sol or Sinbad played by Chris Pratt.
I know it's hot. Oh,
It's me, Sinbad.
Okay, I think we've got one more funsy question and then a game. Is
One
that
more
cool?
funsy each, yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, one more funsy each. Jeff, what is the best mixed soda combination you discovered during your time in Utah?
Mixed soda combination.
She's assuming you were living there in the time of like Swig.
Yeah,
That's
like
next
soda.
door,
Well, and
right?
Swig still exists.
So delicious.
Yeah, all of these other little like
Because when did those start popping up, Jeff?
The So Delicious
don't
was there
know.
when I was there, but I didn't actually
Okay.
drink it. I remember Taco Bell. I'm a big Taco Bell fan, and they had a thing for a while where they were like, I think it was like some social media campaign where they're like, "Oh, mix your favorite like of the drinks that are available at Taco Bell and tell us which one's the best." And I submitted one that was like it was half
submitted one. Amazing.
it was half Baja Blast, and then half Baja Blast, because you can't get better than the perfection that is Mountain Dew Baja Blast.
Oh my god.
200% Baja Blast.
Yeah.
200% Baja.
Little frog car is taking notes on this.
Yeah, very
Try
very
it. It'll
important.
blow you away.
Oh my gosh.
But I guess
Awesome.
that is to say that for people at home who don't know, there is like this is like a part of Utah Foodways, right?
Yeah.
And there's even more of them now than there were.
Mm-hmm. I used
Oh
to.
man, it is like it's fascinating.
My partner David used to go to work at like 7 a.m. and line out the drive-through for the soda shop of people getting their morning soda because you get soda, you don't get coffee.
Yeah.
We always used to be like, how is
Yeah.
there a line this early?
At 7 in the morning, yeah.
7 in the morning? How is there
Soda.
a line? Yeah, for soda. Yeah, cookies and
Yeah.
soda. Yeah,
Drinking out of their little cup that says, "Don't talk to me until I've had my Dr. Pepper."
exactly. Yeah. Yes, you know. Awesome.
And I've got a food tradition question in a sense for Katrina. What's your favorite food
Oh
you
my
haven't
gosh.
had since Thailand?
So I'm like, oof, don't make me cry.
Durian.
No,
We love we love durians on this show.
I saw that you guys have like a sticker that's like the Durian Reclamation Project or something. What is
Yes.
it?
Yeah, Durian Free
That-
Reclamation
God.
Project.
Yeah.
We can tell you about that. It's from one of our first. Technically it's the second time we ever played Breath of the Wild with TJ Smith, that episode, and we asked him if he could design a public folklore project in the world of Hyrule inside A Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, what would it be? He said it would be the Durian
It
Reclamation
would be
Project.
planting more durians because we need
Planting
those
more
13
durians.
hearts. Yeah.
Yeah.
People need more access to hearts, so we need to plant more
People are
durian.
over harvesting the durians and not replanting them.
The Lizalfos are slashing and burning the
man.
durian for us.
Yeah.
So like I will never unremember the smell of like when my mom, she thought she had bought like vanilla cream cookies, like vanilla filled like cookies. But she had accidentally bought like durian cream filled cookies. And she had like left them in the car for us to eat like after we had been out. So they were in the hot car, like the hot Thailand car. And when we got back to the car and she like opened up the door, it like just this like wave of like durian like hit us, and it was the most stunning smell I've ever smelled in my life.
Oh my god.
Gosh.
But in answer to your question, so there's something called thongud, and it is so it is egg yolk that is mixed with like rice flour into like a really thick paste.
Ooh.
And it is like, and there's I think palm sugar that's like in it too because it's sweet.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's dropped into like boiling palm sugar rose infused like water.
That sounds
That's
so
like, so it's
fancy.
yeah. So it's so rich. It is so rich because it's like egg yolk.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like flash boiled
my God.
in that like mixture and then like scooped out. And like when I was a little kid, because they would sell like balls of it. Like you can buy it in a string variety, or there's some that looks like teardrop shape because just of how you dip, like how you get it in. But like I would get like the balls of it and be like sitting and eating, and like it was amazing. It was like the best thing like when I was a kid. And yeah, it's one of those things that you can't get like in the States, even in areas that like have a lot of like Asian food markets, just because like not a lot of people eat it, so they're not
Yeah.
gonna like make it.
Mhm.
So yeah, that would be like what I would eat.
And like what part of
awesome.
I don't know how to ask this question. I'm thinking like part of speech. What part of the meal is it like a snack or is that breakfast or?
Oh, it's definitely a snack,
Okay,
like
okay,
or
okay.
like a
Like a
dessert
dessert.
thing, yeah, because
Got it.
it's super rich, super sugary, and I mean, like any person who is trying to like eat healthy would never like eat that. But like like in Thailand, they like nice plump children, and so great snack, for somebody
Oh
who's
yeah.
like, trying to get a little pudge on their kids.
Oh yeah.
And
Awesome.
that's exactly what I want.
Yes.
It's still
That's
what I
awesome.
want. I want a little pudge on myself. So
Yeah. That's awesome. I think we're ready to play a game. Are you all ready to play a game?
I'm ready.
I think
Dom,
we actually
ready?
so all right. We've got some we've thought very hard on how to do tier lists plural for Katrina and Geoff, for everyone at home who watches the show who knows what happens next. I guess this is the part of the show where I say where I have to inquire. Geoff, Katrina, have you ever made a tier list?
yes, absolutely.
I think you might have Geoff, are you a tier lister?
I've only ever like mentally tier listed things. Never gone through like the actual process of like putting it on a chart and everything like that.
Writing down the list. Yeah.
Yeah.
For everyone who's new here, we do tier lists. We do tier lists a lot in this show. A, because they come from video games and like my first love, fighting games. But B, like a good folklorist, they're a way of ranking everyday life in a very creative way, which is what I love. And so I people at home might be like, well, what's the tier list this week? Well, this one has been building for a little bit. We've got a brief we're gonna catch the audience up at, about everything that happened this weekend in the DMs. Are Katrina?
Yes.
Can we get started?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So Shirley, sometimes my late night mod, helped out big at AFS this weekend. Shot this TikTok, running around AFS on, I want to say, Thursday morning.
With a tiny mic.
With a tiny mic. Here we go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Folkwise Live at AFS. We have one of your favorite hosts, Dr. Dom. Dr. Dom, explain to us what we are tier listing today.
Carrie gave me a stack of Pockies and I reflexively put them in a tier list. Come with. All right, this is what we're dealing with. Up top, we've got Matcha Pocky. Matcha Pocky is the best Pocky at me. A close 2 at the top of A is Almond Crush. I love cookies and cream. B tier chocolate, it's right in the middle. I like the chocolate banana pretty well. Strawberry, I'm kind of meh about. I've not had crunchy strawberry. If this is like apocryphal, let me know. But I think that looks super sussy. D tier.
All right, and there you have it.
So, and I guess after I called it, I maybe it was the word sussy that summoned it. But I'll zoom in on this a little bit. The fairy tellers replied to our story. Oh my gosh, I absolutely will at Dom.
I will.
Calling out my my tier list, and then I replied with one of these.
It's very good.
Wait, are we on?
Yes.
Oh, at me? Well, we can talk about it. The fairy tellers. I assume this Tuesday on the show. Live 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'm cutting a wrestling promo for some reason. So
That's amazing.
Are you ready for the Katrina Fixes Dom's Pocky tier list?
Oh, like 100%.
Okay. So we've got 7 Pockies. We've got 7 Pockies. You already know what the Pockies are, and I need you to rank the Pockies correctly.
Yes.
Should we contextualize what Pockies are? What Pocky is?
Yes.
I don't know if it's a singular or plural, but tell the people about Pocky.
Okay, so Pocky are a snack that was originally made in Japan, and then they like had a subsidiary like in Thailand, so they're like really big where I was growing up in Thailand. But they are basically like just a little, like not a pretzel, but like a kind of a plain biscuit dipped in different flavors of like chocolates usually. So that's kind of what they are for anybody who doesn't know. and I have big feelings.
Yeah, there's some big sentiments over here about
You want to just go in the order I have them here? Does that sound good for you?
Absolutely.
All right,
So,
let's start
I want
with chocolate.
Okay, I was gonna start off by saying, just so, we're establishing, so there were basic flavors at the start of Pocky, and it was chocolate, plain strawberry, and almond, not the almond crunchy one, but just almond flavor. But once they made the gourmet ones, it totally changed the game. So for chocolate, what? I didn't hear you, Dom.
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Something.
Oh, I just said almond crush dramatically.
Okay. So for the chocolate Pocky, I would say B, B tier, because it's just basic.
I'd like to point out that's where I had it, so we're good so far.
It is.
In agreement.
Yes, we're good so far.
All right, next up is strawberry.
So next up is strawberry, and I would put that as B tier. And for me, I love strawberry flavored things, and so I would put it ahead of chocolate, which I know is a controversial decision.
You are. Oh my god. Aliana is very upset.
Chad is already turning on you. Chad is already turning on you.
There exists a chocolate flavor that is a gourmet chocolate flavor, which I would put higher.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to say that, because these taste like childhood to me, and so it's it is pretty controversial to say B tier for something that's no nostalgia.
Yeah.
So green tea Pocky.
Yes.
And this is actually where my biggest argument with you started.
Let's go.
In my mind, because obviously I was just having a fight in my brain.
Yeah.
You were shouting into the void in my direction.
Old man shakes fist at sky.
Yeah, it was I'd never been so upset about something that was so trivial. So green tea Pocky, there's gourmet, and then there's the just basic quality.
Uh-huh.
I think the one that you were eating was gourmet, and I had never had that one before, and so I got preemptively upset with you, and that's why I rushed my behind to the Japanese market and bought every single Pocky flavor they had.
Oh my god!
Because I was I need to make sure before I yell at this man about something so inconsequential that I know what I'm talking about.
Oh my god!
So the gourmet green tea, I would put as A tier. Where it's not, to me, it's not best of the best, but it is a definite crowd pleaser.
Okay.
Normally green tea flavor, it doesn't do it for me. It's not bad and it's not good. It's just it exists in the sphere around us. So yeah, the gourmet one, A tier.
Okay, then I feel putting you today is a compromise. You're not as mad as me. Mad as me as I thought you were gonna be.
So if it was regular flavor, what tier would it be? Non-gourmet.
Green tea.
Oh, if it was non-gourmet, then it is C tier.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but gourmet, yeah, A tier. It's much better because the quality, it has more of a milk chocolate flavor underneath the green tea. It's a much smoother mouth feel. It is much better quality.
The mouth feel.
I got very into this.
Everyone wants to know about the mouth feel.
Everyone wants to know about the mouth feel.
Chocolate banana.
Creamy.
ASMR
in the chat.
Next. Where's chocolate banana going?
Okay. Chocolate banana, I feel this is the one where my friends had the most pushback, because people I know went from being this is the best flavor in the entire world to this tastes like it's giving me cancer. People had feelings about the flavor, that went all the range. Yeah, for me, and I know it's going to be controversial to say, it is D tier.
Ooh.
Like, to me, like, it is chemical. It is like,
What?
it is gross. My kids love it.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
They're like, yes, banana, yes, yes, yes. And the
Oh.
biscuit on it is supposed to be like chocolate based, except it's a really weak chocolate.
What?
Yeah.
It's gross to me. It's gross to me. My kids love it. So R.I.P. their mouths.
Rip. Oh my gosh.
So what is the next one on that list? Almond Crunch.
The thing I love saying, Almond Crush.
Almond Crush. S tier. All the
Okay.
way.
Okay.
Absolutely. What was funny was like my friends, because I don't think I said this, but like I immediately told like every person I grew up with that that you had made this list, and that like I was like, look at what he did
On TikTok,
and they were
30
like,
people.
Oh my god, that's hysterical.
they were like, how dare he? And every single one, there were, if people grew up in Asia, they either said like, yes, Almond Crush is #1, how dare he? And then they also said, has this person heard about Pretz, which I can talk about later.
Pretz?
They are made by the same company. Oh, you absolutely will. They're savory Pocky.
Oh, it sounds so good.
Yeah.
This person needs to hear about Pretz.
Yeah, he needs to hear about Pretz. But yeah, everybody was like, Almond Crush is #1, how dare he?
It's a strong too. I really love green tea. Green tea is my favorite Kit Kat. It's just like my favorite dessert.
No. You're wrong.
Proudly. Where are we putting cookies and cream?
So cookies and cream for me, it's like C tier. Like it has the same, it is chemically flavored to me as well, but not as bad as like banana. And also I have a thing about Oreos where like the only good Oreos are like the original American Oreos. Asia has a different Oreos recipe and it's not right. And that is what it tastes like is inside of the Pocky, is like Oreo adjacent, which I'm not into.
Okay.
I told you I have a lot of feelings.
This is off topic, but it's something we talked about like before we were live. Jeff, it was 2 hours and 1 minute before Baby Cat got off the heated blanket.
It was exactly, she did get off.
So. Wow. My first guess was 13 minutes, and then I heard it was a heated blanket. We will never see her.
Well, she's also, you know what's even wild about this? So we feed our cat breakfast, dinner, and second dinner because it's wet food. It's a whole thing. We measured out how much she's supposed to have it up into 3 meals. Second dinner happens at 9:00. Usually at 9:00, she's like meow meow meow, like trying to come over to, hey, it's time to feed me. But you know what? She didn't even wake up until like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah,
so.
Wow. It was so comfy. She was an hour late to second dinner.
It was that comfy.
Yeah, that's comfy.
So the last one here,
I would never be late to second dinner.
The last one here is my D tier, and that is strawberry.
Oh yeah.
Crunch.
This is the only one that I have any feelings about, and I feel that you are.
Oh man,
you are so wrong.
So I hadn't had this one. This was another one that I like picked up at the Japanese market because I was like, I can't yell at a person until like I have an opinion.
I mean, you could.
I could. So when I ate this one, and like I said earlier, I love strawberry flavor. And so to me, this was my absolute new favorite, S tier all the way.
Wait, top
even
S?
Even higher. Yes, even in front of like Almond Crush.
Oh my god.
Like crunchy strawberry to me was like the best Pocky I have ever had in my life.
This is truly chat, the only time I'm ever going to say this, I was so wrong. Oh, wow. We have the, okay, throw out, Shirley, delete that TikTok. Throw out
Throw it
anything
in the
I said
trash,
before.
please.
This is the real Pocky tier list. This is officially the correct tier list of the 7 kinds of Pocky we had that one day. And what's the one? What's the one you want to see on that wasn't in the stack from the TikTok? But what's like your favorite one that got left off?
My favorite one that got left off. There is a new one that I had not tried before that I also grabbed at the Japanese market, and it was chocolate cream with a new wheat-based biscuit.
Interesting.
And like what's interesting is that like the new wheat-based biscuit, some people are like, "Oh, I really love how crunchy it is." For me, it was a turnoff. Like
Okay.
but it was A tier for me.
Okay.
And that was like the chocolate cream. It was better to me than like original chocolate flavor, which again, like I know that's messed up because that's, my childhood flavors, but
yeah.
but like gourmet, what can I say? Like it's much better.
So that was Katrina's tier list. Jeff, I hope you didn't think you were getting out of this show without a tier
boy.
list. All right. So, Jeff, when
This is going to be very good. I will also say that I know that we had this very Instagram interface with Katrina about this, but in our own private, the second the entire chat popped off with suggestions. So this is also another one that was
we cared
well
a lot.
Curated.
We cared a lot about this one, and people worked very hard to put this together. So, Jeff,
boy. I hope I don't disappoint.
On the Green Knight episode of the Fairy Tellers podcast.
Oh boy.
You say that Jeffrey of Monmouth is one of your all-time favorite Jeffs with a G.
I did?
And so we have a tier list of all-time great Jeffreys with a G for you to put together. Man. Are you excited to rank your brothers?
Yes. Oh yes.
I'm so glad that the Toys R Us Jeffries.
And he might be the sleeper.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
I'm just hoping I know who any of these people are.
So the first one you definitely know, and that is Jeffrey of Monmouth.
Yep.
Oh man. Well, I don't want to like contradict myself, but I'm gonna have to go. I said it was my favorite all time, but
you said one of.
Okay, good. Because I was gonna say A tier.
Just okay, strong A right off the bat.
Strong A, yeah. It's again one of my favorites. Obviously not the first Jeffrey with a G that comes to mind.
Sure.
But
yeah, because for me it is the Toys R Us Giraffe, and then you.
Oh, thank you.
The next one up here might be
gosh.
it might be his most bitter rival, and that is Geoffrey Chaucer.
Ooh. Jeffrey Chaucer.
Gosh.
Here's the thing.
Ooh.
Real life Jeffrey Chaucer, I'd probably put like C tier.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
If we go by A Knight's Tale, Jeffrey Chaucer,
Yes.
S tier.
So does that average him out at bottom of A?
You know what? The Knight's Tale Jeffrey Chaucer is so far off that I think it's like a B at best.
Okay. So
okay.
Jeffrey Chaucer, all the complicated words like fundament, that's B.
Yeah.
But if it was Knight's Tale, Jeffrey Chaucer, strong S. Okay, great.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Here we've got founder of the House of Plantagenet, Geoffrey Plantagenet.
Oh man. I'm saying "oh man" because I'm like, I didn't even like. So my wife is super into like she read some book and she's like, let me tell you all about the Plantagenet House Plantagenet. The only thing I know is from her, but I don't ever once remember this man's name coming up. So he must not be that important. I'm gonna go D tier.
Ooh,
based on like
if he was a Henry with a G, would have been more important.
Probably, yeah.
Jeffrey list.
Oh my god.
Next up, we've got Captain Barbossa himself, Geoffrey Rush.
Geoffrey Rush. Oh man, Geoffrey Rush. I think he is a very underrated actor. for sure.
Uh-huh.
And he's one of the, if it's not Jeffrey the Giraffe that people are like, oh yeah, like it's normal to spell Jeffrey with a G. He's, like he's the one that they're like, oh yeah, it's like, it's
Wanna
not
made it
so
cool.
crazy. Yeah, because like I seriously am surprised by how many people are like, oh, I've never seen it spelled that way. And I was like, are you serious?
Pirates, come on.
It's
Yeah, it's like
weird,
it was spelled.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, look, we got Jeffrey Chaucer, and it was spelled with a G before it was ever spelled with a J.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put him A tier.
And now is he top A or bottom A?
I'm gonna put him. I'll put him top A.
Top A.
Go for it, Jeffrey.
Nice.
Next up from Chopped, we have Chef Jeffrey Zakaria.
From Chopped.
I don't think I've ever seen Chopped.
Oh, Chopped is so much fun.
What?
Chopped. My favorite thing about Chopped is the sound design, because
Yes.
it's like every single scene, it's like they made music for just that scene, and it's always like not the feeling that you would think it would be, but dramatically changes the mood.
Every single thing
Like,
they're doing,
it
they
is
found the most
unbelievable.
they found the most dramatic chopping cabbage music.
Yeah,
And even like when they do like the gag episodes where like they like leave it up to a vote and people pick like flaming hot Cheetos and durian as the ingredients, like the most dramatic durian and
so
flaming
dramatic.
hot Cheetos music, and you're like,
It's
I
like-
can't imagine this scoring anything else. Yeah,
that show would be nothing without that.
without the music.
Yeah, it
And
would be
the
nothing.
like fair to say the hard ass chef, Chef Jeffrey.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like I kind of just for again the alliterative purposes, I want to put him C tier for Chopped, but it feels weird to put him after Jeffrey Chaucer. So I'll put him on the top B.
Top of B. And last but not least, Jeffrey the Giraffe.
Jeffrey the Giraffe is S tier.
Yeah.
all the way,
Of
in
course.
my eyes. I mean,
Every
of
day
course,
of the week.
Jeffrey the Giraffe is so important to me as a human being with the name of Jeffrey spelled the way that it is. Because as a little kid, I had something to look to be like, yes, I am seen, I am valid. The G can make a J sound, just like you see with giraffe, Jeffrey. It makes sense. So
This is representation.
I mean, how old were you when Pirates 1 came out?
Oh
when
my
Pirates
God.
1 came out, I was in like high school. I
You
think.
were like in high school,
Yeah.
and you were probably
Yeah, okay.
you were probably like a junior in high school when you had read Jeffrey Chaucer, but you've had Jeffrey the Giraffe the whole time.
Oh yeah, the whole time. Yeah,
OG.
Yes.
yes, all the way. He's been with me from the
Oh my
beginning,
gosh.
and I appreciate what he's done for all of us Jeffreys in the world.
So on behalf of all the Jeffreys with a G in the world, from the founder of the House of Plantagenet to the founder of the House Toys R Us, we have the definitive rating of all Jeffs with a G. Thank you to
All
our
of
very
them.
own Jeff with a G tonight for breaking this down for us.
Yes.
You're very welcome. I'm so glad that my ill-informed opinion has become the official record.
Has become
It's
canon.
canon. It's
Yeah.
canon. It's canon. Back to
All right, everybody. I think everyone in chat knows what time it is. It is about time we say goodbye to the chat to the guests. Before you roll out all the emotes you've got, I am giving the two of you free and ample time to plug away at the fairy tales or anything else you want to plug.
Yes, what would you like to tell the people?
Tell the people.
Yeah, just if you love fairy tales and storytelling, which I'm sure that you do, and not just fairy tales, because we folklore, myths, legends, such and such. If
Mhm.
you enjoy that and our nonsense, then you should definitely check the Fairy Tellers podcast. But I think, yeah, that's all I want to plug.
I think
Yeah.
you can't make it through like 2 hours of this episode without like loving the two of yours nonsense. So I think
Aw.
that's probably a hard that's an easy set. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Yeah, this was
Absolutely.
awesome.
It's been
Um,
super fun.
People, you know what to do. GG's in the chat. Thanks for being on our show.
Ladder,
This
if you've
very-
got ladders,
Yeah.
as many ladders in the chat as possible for Katrina and Jeff, everybody. There they are.
Oh.
There they are. There they are. G-
I think
look at your ladders.
Oh,
GG.
nice.
I think
Beautiful.
I found
Oh,
my
and-
new
On fire letters.
on fire ladders. Let's go. I think I found my new favorite emote. It's Thylahype breathing fire.
That's a
It
good
used to
one.
be
I saw
used
that.
to be used to be Thylahype eating our garlic, but now it's Thylahype eating the fire one.
I really
Anyway.
like your thylacine spitting
Breathing
fire.
It's very good.
That's you like 11 o'clock onward.
Quilts have had meaning on many levels. Making quilts helped me to get a sense of my own space, sense of finding my way, sense of really working my way out of the labyrinth.